Well. I always said that I wanted to do vehicle competitions here on the channel, and although my initial plan was always to start with a car, it got me to thinking one of the problems with a car is that winning a cool car is all well and good until you have to run the costs of living with it. Maintenance, servicing, fuel, all of that kind of stuff. Now, for some people, they'll still run that risk, and it doesn't mean I won't ever do a car on the channel, but I think this could be a good way to start with actual vehicles. Because this is a vehicle that I bought myself. It's a 1953 MV Agusta. It's got barely 3,000 miles on the clock in 70 years. This is pretty much a museum piece, except it's one that you can genuinely use every day. Now, one of the reasons why I think this could be a great prize, and obviously we'll see through the duration of the competition if it is something you guys are interested in, is because not only is it a wonderful bike, it's absolutely stunning, as you'll see from the walk around, and I'll show you the sound in a second as well, but also it's cheap to run. This bike returns over 100 miles per gallon, even though it's 70 years old. It has a 175 four-stroke engine, of course air-cooled, single, kickstart, puts out 8 horsepower and has a top speed of 60 miles an hour, about 100 kilometers an hour. So it's kind of a perfect first bike for someone. And imagine how much more badass it would be to ride up with this as your first bike than some little Chinese 125. Now, this bike was fully restored 5 years ago. It's been kept off the road in storage for the past 2 years, since 2020. And prior to that, the previous owner had it for 25 years, since around 1995. Before that, it was imported into the UK from Italy at some point, and only 6,000 of these were ever made in the first place. Now, this bike, the CST 175, which is the original base model, was the first ever four-stroke that MV Agusta made. Now, you could view this as being a competition or a raffle. The way I like to think of it as far as vehicles go, though, is you're essentially buying a vehicle for £5. You don't need to dress it up as a competition or a raffle or a giveaway. It's just a great deal. So if you were to win this, it's a whole bike for £5, and it's a hell of a lot nicer than the kind of used bike that you might get as a first bike typically, or even as a collector's bike. If you are, for example, an older rider, you might not have the inclination, time, or extra cash to just drop a few £1,000s on a classic or vintage bike. But for a £5, what are you going to buy with that? Issue a Top Gear magazine, maybe? Now, for those who already followed or entered my PS5 competition, you'll already know how this works. You buy a ticket for a £5, as many or as few as you want, and then when the deadline closes, the algorithm picks a random name out of a hat, and that person wins the bike. Now, for this particular bike, the level of tickets that I'll need for this to be the guaranteed prize is far, far lower than it would be for a car, and that's one of the main benefits. And as soon as we reach a threshold where I can comfortably cover the value of the bike and shipping it anywhere in the UK, I will immediately announce it on the channel in a video and a community post, probably on Instagram as well, to confirm that whoever wins is now getting the bike. What though if we don't reach that amount? That's always the question. Well, that's the great thing about raffle. Just like last time with the PS5, if we don't reach enough tickets, which could happen, but if we don't, then the winner instead gets 75% of all of the ticket sales, which is one hell of a consolation prize. But without any further ado, let's show you what it sounds like. Ignition on, fuel feed, get it to top dead center on the crank. And that's that. So of course, being a classic bike, it's tax and MOT exempt. It's been maintained and restored to a very high standard, and even the insurance is dirt cheap. Even up to like 5,000 miles a year of use is about £150 a year. So if you are looking either for a collector's piece yourself, maybe an investment, something for yourself to ride, or maybe even as an amazing gift for somebody younger, like your kid perhaps, who's about to get their license or pass their test, then give it a look. And of course, if this does go well, we will potentially do more vehicles on the channel in future. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.